I now give the floor to His Excellency Ivan Gil Pinto, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Señor Presidente,
Mr. President, Venezuela stands here talking to the world with a sense of truth. Over 5 centuries, the history of our homeland has been marked by one key ideal. That is the goal of achieving a society in which equality, justice, and freedom reign. Simón Bolívar was the greatest man to ever have been born on American soil. He, in word and in deed, universalized the spirit and what it meant to be Latin American and Caribbean. His was the ideal that the world should live in balance, that any and all struggle for a better society must have as its homecoming port, its final destination, peace. Mr. President, the first vessels that arrived on our Caribbean shores came to bring us under control. They subjugated our ancestors for 300 years. More than 90 million indigenous inhabitants were exterminated. There began our long struggle to resist colonialism and humiliation. 3 centuries later, the Liberation Army, comprising black people, indigenous peoples, white people, mestizos, it was an army in which slaves, peasants, and free men from across the continent stood side by side as equals. They came up from the coasts of the Caribbean Sea and rose up to Ayacucho and its mountains to free South America once and for all. Mr. President, we have been a country that has learned to struggle for its own destiny and control thereof. In the 20th century, we saw the beginning of a blockade on our coastlines in the Caribbean Sea and a coup d'etat against our nationalist general, Cipriano Castro, that was financed by oil companies and the government of the United States. The 20th century was one of bitter disputes between the ideal held by a nation that demanded the sovereign right to enjoy its own wealth for its own development and puppet governments that subjugated the country to foreign and imperialist interests. These governments